really interesting about me being a speaker at Thrive is Photography Farm was the very first thing which started it all off for me. And that's the absolute truth.
The goal isn't to live forever. The goal is to create something that will.
Welcome to Perspective, a podcast for wedding creatives, where we sit down often with a special guest and talk about our many years of experience in the wedding industry so that you can learn from us and grow your wedding business. This is another special episode brought to you by Photography Farm in anticipation of Thrive 2022 happening this March. Thrive is an all-star wedding photography workshop taught this year by 6 phenomenal mentors, and we've teamed up with Farm to bring you 6 episodes so that you can get to know them a little bit better. In this episode, we'll be getting to know the bubbly personality of background screamer Rebecca Carpenter, who made an entrance onto the wedding scene back in 2017 because her first wedding went straight to your London wedding.
Yeah.
We'll get to know Rebecca's backstory, of course, and so much more. But before we do, Greg, what are we drinking?
Well, it's not coffee today.
Da-da-da.
It's the butter beer from last episode. You gave me this gift.
Ooh.
Yes.
So,
and we are joined by Rebecca. Hello, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Oh, butterbeer. Oh, cheers. Is a butterbeer like a Harry Potter butterbeer?
It is a Harry Potter butterbeer. So in the
I love those.
In the last episode of Perspective, we were talking to Neil Thomas Douglas, again one of the Thrive mentors. And I was telling Greg that I had just come back from London, having taken the family, because I've got 3 kids, to the Harry Potter studio tour, and I brought back Greg a gift of butterbeer.
Yeah.
Now, are you a Harry Potter fan yourself?
I am. I did the tour like you, and I love the butterbeer. People were like, "Oh, it's really sickly," but I loved it.
Yes,
I think it's really tasty.
Yes, I did too.
Harry Potter fan, yes, but yeah.
Yeah. So this is
controversially, I've never read the books.
What?
I think I only
I know. I've just seen the movies. I know.
No, it's fine. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Yes. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, Rebecca. Yes.
Oh.
So, what do you think, Greg?
Not a big fan. This is enough for me.
read the back because it's an interesting flavour.
Well, yeah, it's butterbeer. It's got a trademark. Butterscotch flavour sparkling soft drink.
Yeah. With all the sugar as well. It's great. Yeah. So, Rebecca, you might, since you've done the studio tour, you will probably remember that the drink kind of came in like 2 halves, right? So it came with the liquidy drink, but it also had this layer of it's like shortbread, mallowy froth. Yes, like you said. Froth? Froth. Why can't I say that? What a weird word to get confused on. Anyway, sorry. This is only the bottom part. And I do wish I had the top part because it's really fun when you drink it with a mustache. You get it all in your mustache. The kids find it hilarious. Yeah. They were totally in love with me just necking it.
The froth makes it, I think. I think the froth is the best part.
Yes, I agree. But it is quite a Scottish drink. I actually thought it was shortbread, but I thought it was a shortbread flavoured drink with a butterscotch top.
It also looks like a cross between Iron Brew and Lager.
It does.
The colour.
But yes, sorry.
I love how you're still drinking it. I love it.
Yes, but you don't get much. I mean, it'll be gone quickly. And then obviously we do have some coffee at the side because, like I said before we started recording, we are coffee fiends and we enjoy a good coffee. Yes.
Yeah.
So, yes, again, thank you for joining us. Obviously, you've got...
Thanks for having me.
Was that a Coke Zero? That's another podcast.
It is. I am a massive Oh, I'm addicted. I've got a real problem.
Yes,
Like, really.
I'm with you.
So far, that's 2 for 2.
Two for two.
Each Thrive speaker is
Neil,
drinking Coke Zero.
That's right.
I think we need a sponsor here.
Really?
a Coke sponsor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what have you been up to recently?
Yeah. So January and February were like my downtime months. So my first wedding isn't till March. So I said to my husband, I'm going to have some downtime. I'm going to relax. I lied. I completely lied. I've been kind of getting back on the YouTube bandwagon. I think my goal for this year is to do more YouTube videos. So I've been filming about 3-4 episodes this month and then doing an Instagram course. So basically loads of filming is what I've been up to.
Yeah.
And just trying to get my workflow just really perfected for this year and just try to alternate things with my kind of assistant. So everything is just like smooth sailing for this year. Because last year was just... Can I swear on this? What's the deal?
Yeah, you can swear.
Can we swear?
Yeah.
No? Oh, yeah, okay. Because last year was like a total shit show. So I don't want that again.
Yeah. Well, I hope that when you go to record further YouTube content that your camera actually works. Because we both had camera issues this morning. I don't know what it was. Just, I don't know. One of those days.
Who knows?
Yeah, that doesn't really sound like downtime though. That sounds like a busy January. And
No.
did I see? Were you out doing? Were you doing a couple shoot
Really?
in London just this weekend with a marathon going on or something?
I was, yes. Oh my gosh, this is like the story of my life. Like something always happens on a location shoot. I think that's the joy of them. I love the kind of spontaneity and just the randomness of what happens on location. Doing some filming for YouTube, doing an elopement shoot. And then we were like, why are there loads of people dressed as penguins? Like a whole collective of people. And then music started playing and I was like, oh my God, it's a flash mob. What is happening? And it turned out it was the London Half Marathon. And then within minutes, there were people running everywhere and like music blaring. So all the audio, like probably can't use because every major artist was on that playlist. So I tried to do voiceover, but you know what? It was so much fun. And I was on such a high, even though I was like, you know what, doesn't matter about the audio, like screw it, this is really fun. And you got to like sit in the street, and the fact that was happening, security weren't so fussed about us walking around like Royal Exchange. So really, really good fun. Yeah, it's been a real mixed bag of filming. So the other shoot the other day, it chucked it down with rain. And it's realistic because that's what it's really like with weddings and shoots. I think everybody sees Instagram and they're like, oh my God, that looks amazing, it's perfect. When we know reality, don't we? That was hard work doing that, or that rained, or so it's been good to kind of show that to people, the reality of what goes on behind the shoot. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's actually really important to show the real side of it, because then I would hope that your couples would then be more inclined to be like getting prepared for it, you know? And then when you do it, it's like full hog, all your energy. Yeah. So
and that's the thing.
yeah, exactly. I mean, what was it like to shoot with a marathon going on? Was it just could you have any control of anything, or was it just?
It was absolutely bonkers. As in, you couldn't even really cross the road. So there's kind of the shot we envisioned with like the pillars and stuff. We were like, okay, run now. No, don't. Run out. And it was literally just waiting for kind of gaps. And there are not really that many gaps in a marathon. Yeah. And maybe I'm just really naive and stupid. We were trying to dodge that. And then there was a gap and I run. And I was just shouting at them across like Peter Andre's Mysterious Girl, like, stay really still. I'm going to shoot from here. And I just embraced it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to make a reel of this as well while I'm at it. And it was, so parts of it were chaotic and there were runners and penguins everywhere. And then parts of it were empty so they could sit in the road. When can you sit on the road in central London? So it did work to our advantage. Some really cool shots, and where the actual kind of bank where we shot was like dead because everybody was focused on the marathon. So the shoot turned out to be not at all what I expected, but in a really magical way. And I think it does teach you as a photographer to just go with it and not keep focusing on like the perfectionism and it being perfect and like Instagram worthy, because that's not realistic. That's not real. So really, really good fun.
Do you find with TikTok and stories now becoming more of a bigger aspect of social media that people are more inclined to accept the realness of life on social media?
Definitely, I think, and that was I think there's a massive shift in that. I think during COVID, I think because nobody was shooting, nobody was working, everybody was just at home sitting around. I think just showing all of that side and the reality, I think just really kind of changed things massively. Because I think before everybody was like, oh, it's got to be perfect, it's got to be amazing. But I think nowadays you see a lot more of people behind the scenes because that's just life. And I think it's a massive, I think it's really important to show that. And as a business owner, as a photographer, that it's not always what it appears. And I've always been really, really true to that. And in kind of COVID, when we were at home, I was kind of sharing lots of that. I was desperate to get content. So I was shooting anything and everything, which might be like quite cringe. I look back now, but at the time there was nothing else to do. And then my following did grow from that, because I think I just showed people like, hey, like this is what you could do. This is what I've been up to. And I noticed a massive change from that. And I think when you see reels and TikToks of what people did to get that shot or what it's really like, there's that relatability, which I think is really important. And I think it's also something that people really like to see nowadays, because, you know, with social media and kind of mental health, I think everybody spirals of comparisonitis. But when people kind of show a glimmer of that relatability, people are like, oh, so they are the same as me. It is really like that for them as well. And I think it's a massive change, definitely.
Yeah. So speaking of like the sort of lockdown period and COVID and stuff, how did you expand your business and use that time, and have you continued that stuff now that we're sort of getting back to shooting properly again?
Yeah, it was a massive, massive shift for me. I don't know about you guys, but I got no government funding, like nada. I didn't get a single penny. So I was like, oh, so I decided to branch out into digital products. So I started selling my presets, which I was against for years. I was like, no, I'm never going to sell my preset. Like, I don't want, and then I was broke, so I had to. And that's the absolute truth. And that was the best thing I did, because I was getting no money. You couldn't shoot, you couldn't go out. So I did presets and then started offering business mentoring to kind of small businesses and photographers. So I quickly learned that the digital market was the way forward during that, and education, I kind of ramped that up even more. And then since then, I've just carried on with that and done more digital things, more mentoring, and just kind of learn that it is really important to have that side of your business, because we all learn. I never thought in a million years it'd be a case of we'd be stuck at home, you couldn't actually shoot. But when that really, really happened, it was a bit of a wake-up call to kind of diversify. So diversifying was what I learned massively during that time. And I love it. It's amazing. And very often now I think people have learned, oh, you can just do that via Zoom. Like, you don't have to meet that couple for a coffee. You can just chat with them via Zoom. And and I learned a lot during all of that. And even though I think at the time it was like I think everybody dealt with it differently, but for me it was, I don't know about you guys, but it was a bit like a grieving process, wasn't it? I think everybody was in different stages of grief, as in where they were at with the business and weddings. You can shoot weddings. For me, I kind of got out of that funk pretty early, because I was like, look, I just need to be creative, whether it's doing self-portraits, shooting me and my husband in our wedding outfits in the garden, like desperate times, yes, but I kind of learned that you have to keep creating and have fun, and also give people hope, because it wasn't going to be forever. And when it did end, you had to also kind of think, where's your business going to be when this does end? And I didn't want it to be a case of me just being like, oh, I've not done anything for the last year or a couple of months.
Yeah.
So I just kind of kept that momentum going. And that kept me in a good kind of upbeat state. And it was just really fun. And I look back at some of my like lockdown content and I'm just like, oh, bless me. From like a year ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah. Did you learn anything from teaching others? Obviously, we'll get onto your talk for Thrive, which is perfecting your portfolio. Was it through teaching others that you saw where they struggled? And is this why you've come up with this talk?
Yeah, exactly that. Spot on. As in, when I started kind of opening up kind of free talks, I did a lot of stuff for free actually with photography farmers, and me and Lisa were like, let's do something for free. Let's give people some like a boost of, ideas to keep them going. And then I started getting messages of the same sort of questions and the same sort of problems. And then I was like, oh, okay, there's kind of a gap for this in the market and maybe I could help that. And I think you get kind of like clues, don't you, when people start asking you the same sort of questions. And that's what I noticed, that people were asking the same things about how to grow their business, how to get their first wedding, how to actually start a portfolio, kind of what equipment they should use. And then the more I started getting those questions, the more I was like, okay, I need to put something out for people for this. And that's kind of continued. And it does tend to be the same sort of questions and the same sort of problems with kind of wedding businesses and photographers. And I learned a lot of hard lessons. I made a lot of mistakes and I've learned from them. And I will try virtually any form of marketing at least once to see if it works or if it works for me and how other people can use it and adapt to it. And I learned tons, like so much, as in, even though I think it was we all are like emotionally scarred from that time. I also think it was the best thing to happen for business owners. So if you're a business owner and you're still standing now, like hats off to you, because you survived it and you got out of it, and it will make you stronger forward, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless you're a business owner who didn't survive, in which case this was a terrible time for you. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
But you're right.
And that's the thing. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? It's like for some people, it was. I know lots of small business owners who didn't survive it, and it's not fair because it was out of their control, completely out of our control.
Yeah. But what's that old saying? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I suppose. Now on the back end, for those of you who have got your businesses back up and running to a good level, we've all learned some pretty interesting lessons. But yeah, and I think it's also tricky because we're going to still be recovering for this for years. I don't know about you guys with where you're at with weddings. I'm still playing catch up for how long, and that's it's not completely recovered yet, and it won't for years because we are just dealing with the backlog still. But hey, the interesting thing I'm seeing with a lot of suppliers is people who catch COVID, and then they've got however much time to very quickly sort a second shooters and other suppliers to fill in. And when we're all so busy, that is a struggle.
Yeah. It's the last thing you need.
Yeah. It's tough times.
Yeah.
So when you go back to shooting weddings, so you haven't shot any this year yet. When's your next one?
Not yet. March, the middle of March.
Middle of March, okay. One. Are you going to be taking your wee second shooter who you pay in biscuits, I've heard? I'm referring to your
my
daughter.
Baby, yes, so she's yes, she is. So she is. She'll be coming as well. Yeah, so we're kind of tying it into like a holiday. So I've got my first wedding is in Tenerife. So we were like, let's start off small. And then obviously, have you flown with your kids? Yeah, I haven't. This is the first flight.
I've not yet,
and I'm part terrified. I'm part terrified, part like. So I was like, let's start small, like 4.5 hours in a plane. Like that's doable. Yeah. I can do that. I hope you can do that. So
how old is she?
She'll be coming along. She is 13 months. No, 13 months. Oh.
Yeah.
That's exciting though.
How old are your little ones?
You got the newest, so you start.
Yep. Mine is turning 6 months this weekend, I think. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Congratulations!
So
and now it's like the weaning and it's the food. Oh!
Yeah. Messy times.
Yeah.
Crazy.
6 months. Oh my gosh!
And mine are
that stage. So
9.
How about you?
9, 7, and 5. So, two boys and a girl. Not that really matters, but
perfect.
I'll say it anyway.
Oh, that's wonderful.
How are you finding being a photographer and being a mum? How's that going together?
Oh, it's a constant juggling act. And that's the absolute truth. And I think so many people are like, you're nailing it. You're a boss bitch. It's like, there'll be a day I'll be like, yeah, I've nailed it. And then she'll fall over and bang her head when I've turned my back. And then I'm like, oh my God, mum guilt. Or I will, it's a constant juggling act. And I heard someone the other day say, there's no such thing as a work-life balance with children. I think it's a work-life child integration. I think that's like the best way to describe it. You just have to figure out, and no weeks are the same. I don't know about you guys, but I'll be like shooting one day, or I'll take her out with me, or it really varies. I love it. And I generally love motherhood so much. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I'll be honest, last year, when she was newborn and I was breastfeeding still and then shooting a wedding on 4 hours sleep, I found the work side of things more stressful because people were emailing and messaging and DMing, and with my baby Winnie, I knew kind of what I needed to do, and I found the work overwhelming. My business side way more overwhelming because it's just so many things. And it was as if I did that last year, as if I had a child in the year of postponements. Honestly, I have flashbacks to me sitting in a car park crying because I was so tired. Good times, but I absolutely love it, and it's incredible. And I do feel very, very blessed because I get to kind of work, and then I get the days I do have with her, and I try and set boundaries. So when the days I do have her, or when I'm with her, I'm not working. I'm not on my phone. I'm not on my laptop, and that's I kind of set as a kind of rule when I'm with her. And it's a constant learning curve because suddenly they start crawling, suddenly they start standing up, and then you're like, oh, okay, we've got to baby-proof this, or oh, I can't leave you. Or they start eating or putting things in their mouth, which, it's just, it's each sort of stage is a level up, isn't it?
Yeah. It's when you get to the cutting up of everything. I don't think I've cut up as much fruit in my whole life as I have done since having kids. It's every grape gets cut in half because grapes are a terrible choking hazard.
I have never given her a grape for that reason because it just gives me the fear. So I'm just right, no grapes.
Have you had an experience of your child choking yet?
Yes.
It's terrifying,
it's really
isn't it?
Scary, isn't it? Your heart just stops and you just, oh gosh. Yeah. And I distinctly remember when she did, obviously I was there, but suddenly they just go silent, don't they? And then you just right, go back into your baby first aid training, and you just,
Yeah,
Gosh,
having to
I get emotional when I think
thumping
about
your
it.
child. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, horrible. Anyway, so yeah, I there's a
Yeah.
lot of cutting of the grapes, but I do it with that memory lodged firmly in my mind. I will cut every single grape. If I need to cut it 2 times, so there's 4/4 of a grape, I will bloody do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's move away from cutting fruit and kids, because people without kids will just be like, "What on earth am I listening to?" Which is fine. Let's give our listeners a friendly reminder to buy your tickets for Thrive. If you don't know what Thrive is, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast, but I'm glad you're here. But you should definitely do Thrive because it's amazing. And you will see all of us who are on this podcast. Well, you won't see us in Brighton, but you will see us in Glasgow. So that's very fun. So yes. What was my tagline that I came up with last? So we end the podcast by me saying, enjoy your life. And that's got a backstory.
Yeah.
But we changed it for this one. And I've forgotten it.
What you're meant to say just now is
Don't just survive, thrive. There you go.
Thrive.
Which is so
Nice.
corny, but
I love that.
Neil Thomas Douglas assured
It's
me.
true though.
He
Yeah.
assured me that Lisa would like it. So Lisa, that one's for you. And if
You will love it. She'll absolutely love it.
and if you like what you hear, there is more. We are on episode something big now. So go back and listen to all our podcasts. They are super good. We talk to some amazing creatives in the wedding industry. But if you want to support the podcast, you absolutely can do that as well. We have a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/perspective by Cinemate, because we're Cinemate. And you can sign up for as little as £1 to support the podcast. But you don't have to do that. However, let's move on. I have already introduced you very briefly, but I always like to ask the kind of CV question. Rebecca, who are you and what do you do?
Hi, I am Rebecca and I am a destination and elopement wedding photographer based in Kent, but I shoot all over the world. I am a mama, wifey to John. I am a fun-loving, extrovert, outgoing, carb-loving, Coke drinking kind of person. That's me. Hey.
love it. I love it.
Yeah, awesome.
You put me on the spot then. You really put me on the spot. I'm like, that's my elevator pitch. It's probably not a good one, but
Yeah.
we'll go with it.
Every podcast guest, or the majority, I would say, hate that question. And I get it,
I think that was a good answer, though.
but it was a very good answer.
Quite a
Very
full
good
answer as well.
Yeah. It's always interesting to see how people answer it. Some people go really deep, maybe a little bit too deep, but hell.
So in Simon's intro, he said that you got started around in wedding photography around 2017. So
Yeah.
tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah.
How did you get into it?
So, what's really interesting about me being a speaker at Thrive is Photography Farm was the very first thing which started it all off for me. And that's the absolute truth. So I attended a farm workshop and it was a portfolio building day. I shot the shit out of it. I shot everything. I even snuck into another group to shoot more stuff because I had no website, no portfolio, nothing. And Lisa must be like, who is this chick and what is she doing? And I was like, oh, that looks fun. I'm going to kind of slink into that group and shoot it as well. Why not? And I attended and I built my entire website and portfolio from that day at Farm. And so Farm really did change everything for me. And I've always been incredibly grateful to Lisa because she is also a mentor of mine as well. So whenever I ask like for advice, business-wise, Lisa will give it to me straight. She'll be super honest. And so I had that portfolio day. And then I was working at Hamleys as a trainer for kind of sales and customer service and people who worked on the tills. Basically anybody who worked in Hamleys, I was training them. And then my manager was like, oh, my friends are getting married. They have no money. Like, do you want to shoot it? Like, I know you're pretty serious about this photography thing. And I was like, yes, I'll do it for experience. Like, I'll do anything. And I was so eager to do it. I shot it for £100. I borrowed a second camera from somebody else who worked at Hamleys, and I shot it. Like, bear in mind, I've not second shot for anybody. I just went in and I did it, and I loved it. And it is, yeah, honestly, like, everyone's like, so you never second shot? And I'm like, no, I probably should have, but that's just the way I roll. I'm pretty ballsy. I was like, screw it, let's do it. And I think once you've had it your own wedding, I think when you've been married or go to lots of weddings, you kind of know the day, you kind of know the points. And I think I've been to so many weddings of friends. I had my own wedding. I kind of knew what sort of moments to anticipate to shoot.
Yeah.
So shot it, loved it. It was like I'd always been doing it. It felt so natural to me. And then one of the pictures stood out to another account on Instagram, and then, cut a long story short, it made the cover of a London wedding magazine, and the wedding was featured for my first wedding. And that's, when I sit back and actually think about it, that is like bonkers. Like, that is
so cool,
insane. Though. And I look at it now and I think it's not perfect, but I look back, I think, you know what, good old me in 2017, just hustling by.
Yeah.
And I did it and I loved it, and it got me started. And from then it was just saying yes to everything. And I said yes to everything.
Okay.
Which I tell people in the beginning, like, you do, don't you? I think you just want the experience, you want the practice to kind of figure out your niche. And I discovered quickly that I wasn't good at photographing animals. I wasn't good at headshots. I wasn't good at photographing food. I wasn't good at you just learn these things really quickly.
You really did try everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really did. You can't blame a girl for I really did. And I quickly discovered that photographing humans was my jam.
Yeah.
And I think it's just practicing, because with weddings, you'll never have a scenario with so much different types of light, like indoor, outdoor, night, like horrible fluorescent lighting. And I think I just wanted to keep practicing and just kind of really, really like harness my craft and just really, really get confident with it. And it kind of kicked off from there. I started doing style shoots and portfolio builders, and quickly learned lots of things along the way. Yeah.
So you were saying yes to everything. Like, how much yes were you saying? Like, how many bookings were those early days?
I went full time under a year.
Okay.
With wedding photography.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, it's pretty quick. So I think, I don't know, like 30, 40 weddings.
Okay.
And then I did a wedding fair and then I completely booked out. It's different now. It's completely different. But then last year, I think, thrown a spanner in the works. But it was a lot. As in, let's just say I didn't have much downtime. Even if it wasn't a wedding, I'd be doing like a little shoot for a band or a little shoot for a fashion blogger. I was always just networking and just really just practicing, and just very little downtime.
Yeah,
it's the best time.
And so now that we're post-COVID, how many bookings do you tend to aim for now? And has that changed? Like, maybe a few years ago, you had maybe like a lot of people have an aim of how many bookings they'd want to achieve. And funnily enough, as a newcomer, you want to hit that high number. But as you get more into the industry, you want to whittle that down so that you're, I'm assuming, charging more and doing less.
Exactly.
How has that changed now?
Massively. I think as soon as I learned that more is not more, and that burnout is very real, and the kind of saying charge more, shoot less, you have to really, really live by that. And I think, especially with kind of marketing and photographers, you might see this trend and people are like, I'm 50% booked for 2023. I've only got this many spaces left. And I'm just like, guys, stop it. Like, that drives me absolutely mad. Controversial. And I know why people do it. People think it's a sales tactic. But I'm just like, no, stop it. Like, honestly, I just, and I have learnt this as in, so nowadays so this year it's about 26, I think. There's lots of elopements in there, and elopements aren't as intense as weddings. And I'm happy with that. I've still got space for a few more, even though I was like, I only want to do 15 to 20. But then next year it will be, because I've gone up another pricing band recently, it will probably be 20 next year. And then eventually, but then I do love shooting, and but I have learned to say no, and that takes a lot of kind of strong will to be like, no, I'm not going to do that. Have that weekend off. And for me, I'm really kind of getting strict with that, as in I don't shoot on my birthday, I don't shoot on anniversaries or my birthdays.
Listeners, we're very sorry. We have had technical issues. It could be the weather, it could be the internet, it could be little beasties in the computers. I'm not sure.
So if there's only half an answer to the last question, you're going to have to come to Thrive and ask Rebecca for the full answer in person.
And you'll find out.
Yes, exactly.
So you were talking about sort of increasing prices and stuff like that. What exactly do you offer your clients in your packages? I know you do some elopements, some big weddings, so is there different packages for those?
Yeah, it purely comes down to just sort of hourly, a little bit less for elopements, I find, because they haven't got like a long evening. They get prints, they get me basically all day and all night. And I think I'm really focusing on the experience with them to make sure I give them my undivided attention. As in, everybody's different with boundaries. For me and my clients, I have always said to them, you can message me whenever you like, you can WhatsApp me, you can DM me, you can voice note, and I really do kind of have that service with them. So I help them source suppliers, I help them pick locations, and offer them, they have a free shoot before the wedding as well. So if it's destination, I do an additional shoot on location before the wedding. So they haven't got the kind of, because wedding days are chaotic as it is. And I think with destination, it really quickly happens when they kind of go into that destination for a reason. Yeah. So I always kind of location scout and offer them a selection of locations so they can get additional portraits before the wedding or after the wedding.
Yeah.
And people really, really love that. So they have that adventure as well as part of their package. Just give them endless support, endless advice, and just be there for them constantly. And with lots of my clients, it is like that. I do end up being really, really good friends and best friends with lots of them. So it is a very personable service. And prints, artworks, frames, that sort of thing. But for me, I think I quickly learned that when there was kind of demand and people were booking, and I just didn't want to burn myself out, because it's not worth it. And I think with pricing, this is something that is quite common with photographers and videographers. I think everybody's got a different relationship with money and a different mindset. And I think everybody goes through like a bit of a wobbler when they do change the price, because they're like, nobody's booked at this price. Like, should I take it down again? And you just got to do what's right for you and what you want to do, how many weddings you want to shoot, how much you want to make for the year. If you're going to go to the VAT threshold, if you're just like, screw it, let's just go for it. Everybody's got a different situation. But what I say to people is have confidence in your pricing and be confident with it, and believe and know that you're worth. And in the beginning, I would discount things because I really, really want that wedding. And then soon you quickly realize you don't always need to do that. And very often the clients who love you and love your work and you as a person invest in you, is what I'd say to people. And with pricing, it has been I think that's a learning curve constantly as a business. And for everybody, it's completely different. And some people are really happy, whatever the price they charge, that's great. But it's whatever's personal for you and your situation and where you're at with your business and how you want to kind of, it's different for everybody is what I'd say. But a lot of the time it's confidence I find that very, very common with people I kind of coach and mentor. And they're like, oh, but I can't. They're like, oh, I can't. But I'm like, but why can't you? There's no difference between you and me. You've been shooting the same amount of time, same camera. Your work is beautiful. You know, how many inquiries are you getting? How many of those are converting? How many weddings have you got next year? And they're like, oh, I've got 20. I'm like, you have your safe number. So you're fine. That money is in there. And what happens as well with kind of elopements and kind of weddings that are kind of go more luxury, they do book with an even shorter time frame. I found last minute inquiries, and I don't know about you guys, people are inquiring for this year like that, the same year. So I've really kind of changed that. So I went into this year, last year I was really strict to myself, and I was like, if I don't connect with this couple, if I don't love this inquiry, if I don't think we're a match, I'm just going to cut it off and say I'm not the photographer for them. Because there have been times when you do have red flags, don't you, from inquiries, and you're just like, no, like this is not going to work. And you got to stay true to yourself and your values. You really got to, because with videography and photography, like we are the last people to deliver the deliverables from their wedding. We're the last thing, like cake, flowers, they're like, yeah, bye. With us, they're kind of waiting, and the relationship is so long. And you think, okay, I'm potentially going to be in a relationship with this person for a year and a half. Like it's got to be right. It is a relationship, and people need to see it as that and listen to your gut, because when I've gone against my gut and been like, oh no, it's a really fit venue, it's going to be great, then I'll be like, why did I do this? What are you doing here? What are you doing? Damn you, past Rebecca, booking this.
I mean, we've had so many people on this podcast say, you know, don't book a wedding just because it's a cool venue, or, you know, anything like that, because things don't always go to plan. And in the past, we have done that. And quite often, it does not go to plan. I think maybe once it went to plan. Everything else is just, but you know, that is what it is. So for people who don't know your style, can you describe it a little bit? In fact, and I didn't ask you this because we had technical issues, but are you able to send us some images and I'll post them on the video so that people can have a look if they're watching the YouTube video?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'll throw some of your images up right now, but describe your style for those who have never seen them before.
So my style is best described as, this is such a cliche because everyone says this at the moment. It's a trend, isn't it? Editorial, but I am influenced by, I know, like everybody's like eye rolling, like, oh, another editorial photographer. But truly, I am inspired by editorial kind of fashion magazines. I like my work to be romantic and warm and fun, and also be incredibly joyful. And I love to share the joy and the fun between couples, because every couple does have a very unique story, and whatever their personalities are, if it's cheeky, if it's sexy, if it's geeky, if it's outgoing, if it's kind of more reserved, is just sharing that joy and whatever that kind of couple dynamic is. So having lots of fun with kind of my shots as well, but also having those shots that are like, bam, yes, this shot, I love it. This is, that's probably not a very good way of describing my work.
What is that kind of image to you? Shots. So I think there might be a little bit of a delay, but what is that kind of like, bang, that's a great image? Like when you see it, what is that image for you? Is it like a good portrait? Is it like a good emotional moment or something?
For me, I'm probably best known for my portraits. That's what I get booked for, is a killer portrait if the couple are wrapped up in each other in a moment that is dramatic or beautiful, or the setting, or if it's composed a certain way. That is what I'm known for, and that's what I get excited by. Like I love a couple portrait, like love it. Yeah. So that's probably my kind of signature style. And it's really interesting because when people say, oh, I'm documentary, oh, I'm editorial, or I'm more relaxed, as in I shoot the documentary stuff that naturally unfolds and happens, but I don't tend to share most of that. I kind of share the stuff that is, it sounds awful, like the clickbait, because like, but then that's the stuff that does excite me. That's what sets my soul on fire, is like that mountaintop shot of a couple having a kiss. Like that's what makes me happy. And I think with kind of Instagram and showcasing your portfolio, you've got to share what you love and share what you want to shoot more of. And I've really, really learned that. And for me, I love that shot, so I'm going to share that. And that's what I would say is my kind of work.
So you've got a very bubbly personality. You're talking about all these moments that you love to capture. How does that work with how you approach shooting a couple, say?
I definitely would say it's my superpower as a photographer, is that I think I can bring out any people. I can bring out their personalities, and I think my photograph for people are so relaxed and trust me like a friend, because I've really kind of built that relationship over the months via WhatsApp, via DMing and voice notes. So when they get to meet me, they're like, oh, like it's my mate, it's Rebecca. So nowadays I can say to people, okay, just do this or get even close, and they just do it. And people don't hesitate because they trust you. I think trust is a really important factor. So if I'm like, I'm going to play some music, just vibe it out and have some fun, they're like, okay, cool. So there's a massive element of trust. And I've quickly learned, if you have an idea, just go with it and just say it, because there's nothing worse than being like, oh, I should have got them to do this, or oh, why did I not see that, or like the shoulda, woulda, coulda thing. I'm very much about also creating an experience for them, because as with our jobs, I think very often we're thinking about the composition, the settings, and making sure you're getting this killer shot. But at the same time, that's great. But if they're not having fun doing that, what's the point? It's a wedding day. And I think that is so important. I want people to leave being like, that was so much fun, that was such a laugh, like, oh, I'll never forget this memory when we did this, because it is about creating moments and memories, because it's not worth it. And that's what people say. People look back at that image, they're like, oh, that was such a laugh when we were drinking in that taxi and we were eating pizza and whatever. And I think it is about having those moments and memories, and that's kind of what I'm known for. And I'm really honest with people and say, look, I am an extrovert, I am a bit extra, I am going to make you do things, like that's not for everybody, and I'm cool with that, because there are couples in the past I've worked with and I'd be like, yeah, okay, let's jump this fence if you just go and see, and they're like, no, I don't want to do that. And that's my fault, because I wasn't clear who I was to them. And I think in the very beginning, because, and I'll be honest, like in the beginning when I was new and hadn't shot that many weddings, I was so focused on being professional, what I thought a wedding photographer should behave like. I would kind of water down what I was like, because I was like, these are the types of shots I should be posting. I must get a shot of the dress hanging, I must get a shot of the shoes on the floor, I must get a shot of like cringe stuff, like making hearts behind your backs. No shade, that's fine. But this is what you do in the beginning, because you know there's not such thing as a wedding photography school. Like there wasn't, so you are just winging it. So in the very beginning, I was just like really held back, and I'd be like, and I'd kind of hold back. But now I'm like, fuck this, we're doing this. Let's go up that mountain. Let's go for it. Yeah. And that's how you get the shots you do, and that's what you get known for, and that's kind of what people can expect of you. And I'm really crystal clear what I'm like. So I am an oversharer on Instagram. So I will share behind the scenes, because I don't want it to be a massive surprise when they meet me. Yeah. And every single time I photograph a couple, they say, you're exactly who I've seen. I feel like I already know you. And that's when I think, okay, I am doing this right. Yeah. So it's just, and it sounds really like woo-woo, but true to yourself, photographers and videographers. Like there's only one you, and there is only, like, there's a photographer and videographer for every couple out there. Like there is. Yeah. So just be true to who you are. Yeah, that's the moral of the story. And I can relate to that story, because, and if you've been listening to this podcast for a long time, you'll know that I had conversations where I would admit that I struggled with that sort of thing. Because in the early, when we rebranded,
our goal was to create like a luxury type brand, and it was just fun, and we tried to remove ourselves as much as we could from the website. And I found that quite hard because I love the style of video that we do. It's quite moody, but I'm quite a quirky individual. I'm a man-child, essentially, is what I am. If you're watching the video, you'd be like, why is he dressed in a hoodie? I thought he was like a cool, smart kind of guy, but I'm not. I'm just, well, I do have that part of me. Like, you'll see me in a nice floral shirt at a wedding and a waistcoat and stuff. I do like that kind of stuff. But yeah, half the time I just look like a man-child. But that doesn't really fit the brand, or does it? I don't know. I'm making it fit the brand because I don't want to be anyone else.
You are the brand.
I am the brand.
Exactly.
That's
and
right.
I think you are and this is what I struggled with, because I was like, I want to do more luxury weddings. I want to do weddings with wedding planners. And
That's it.
but at the same time, you are the brand, and people come to you because they're like, oh, it's so and so, and they know you and they trust you, and you can be both. You can be outgoing and, you know, have a luxury brand. It is possible. It's very, very possible. And I think so many of us think, oh no, I can't be like that, because that's not. Of course, you can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
You really, and those couples do exist. They do exist, that they want to have a good time.
They do.
And want to have killer shots. They do. It's very possible.
And I actually think there's more weird people out there than you think. Mm-hmm. And I mean weird in a good way. I've always used weird as a good way.
Yes.
Like, I've always said to my kids, you don't want to be normal, you want to be weird, because that's unique and that's who you are.
Yes.
Like, just go with the weirdness. And honestly, you should see me at an elopement. I'm jumping around the hills like a bloody idiot.
I want to see. I bet I can tell from like your energy that you're just like, yeah, let's do this. Like,
yes.
I love that though.
Yeah.
And as a bride, I would love that. I would want that on my wedding day. I'd want that. Fun.
Yeah. Well, you know, I want to get them up the top of a hill, say, and you know, you need that energy to kind of convince them to go up this height.
Like, as you said, people. If you give somebody a good experience on their couple shoot, they're going to look back at the images, feeling that experience, and that's going to make them love the photos even more. Yeah. Whereas if they're coming away going, that was an awkward couple shoot, didn't really enjoy it, that's going to influence how they see the photos as well. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what's in your kit bag? What do you take to a wedding, and what's your usual setup?
I'm a Sony shooter.
Oh, that's why your camera wasn't working.
Guys?
I'm joking. Terrible.
I'm a Sony shooter, and you know what? I love it. I was Nikon previously, and then again Lisa's like, you need to try the Sony, and I have a go, and I loved it, and I quickly fell in love with it. So I shoot two bodies, Sony A7 III mirrorless, but I shoot Sigma lenses. Controversial.
Oh, interesting.
I love Sigma art. I always have, and I find the Sony lenses like super, super sharp, but I found the Sigma art, you just get just a different, je ne sais quoi. Like, it's just, it does have that art name for a reason. And like, I can't, and that's, I think, my signature style. And I just love the kind of dreaminess of the Sigma art. So yeah, they're heavy, like stupid heavy. But I love the look of the Sigma art. So 35, 85 are my favorites, like most photographers. But I shoot pure prime lenses. So zoom lenses, not interested in, they're not for me. And I think with kit, in the very beginning, I was really intimidated by kit. I think I was like, what do I need? What is everybody else shooting? Do I need to get that? Should I get that? And I think that's a really common thing, isn't it? That we are just like, do I need to get that? Okay, you've got that. Should I get that? So, you know, it's all the gear and no idea. It was very much what I was like. And then as soon as I was like, you know what? You don't actually need that. You just stick to what you love. Stick to what you actually use. And just like, keep it, streamline it. So for a wedding, 35, 85, the Godox flashes, harness, bum bag. That is really important. I love a bum bag.
For the American listeners out there, that would be a fanny pack. Just so you know.
Fanny pack. Fanny pack, really important. Harness as well, dual harness for carrying them all. I have one that's got my logo engraved in the back, which is like a walking, talking business card.
Ooh, fancy.
Amazing. I love that. Snacks, definitely have always got snacks because let's be honest, most wedding venues forget to feed you. So, or you're just waiting for food.
Yeah.
So snacks. I have a little kind of wedding day emergency kit, and this goes to every wedding, and that's got a sewing kit, plasters, tampons, deodorant, safety pins, to help people, like the amount of dresses that are broken. So that's what's in my kit, and I have a little rolling bag for that.
Yeah.
So super minimal, and then backups for like I have additional lenses in case those fails are 50. 24 I do use for kind of group shots or a really tight bridal prep room.
Yeah.
And 2 battery chargers in case one dies, a power bank charger, and then laptop occasionally if I kind of want to cull during the food break to kind of catch up.
Yeah.
So I'm ahead of the game for for previews.
Yeah, we'll do that quite often as well. If the couple have booked like an express turnaround, I'll get Greg to import the footage, and I'll just like because you do have like a good couple of hours.
Yeah.
Especially if if they have their speeches before the meal. So then you gotta you do the speeches, cool. You gotta wait for them to have their dinner, and then sometime hopefully you'll get fed, but maybe not. And then over to the first dance. That's at least 2 or 3 hours. So like do your editing. Like let's get on to your talk for Thrive. Obviously, we don't want to get too detailed with it because we want people to learn and buy tickets for Thrive in 2022. So get your tickets for Thrive because you're not going to learn that stuff here. Anyway, your talk, perfecting your portfolio. I was actually super intrigued because with Instagram, with TikTok, your website, people consider these part of your portfolio. Or, I mean, individuals do use them as such, right?
Yeah.
So when you say your portfolio, what do you mean?
I mean the portfolio you have on your website and your Instagram. So Instagram, I do see as like a live portfolio that people can kind of see. It's the kind of bait which hooks them in. So that I would say in that sense, so your Instagram and your website portfolio is what I would say.
Okay. So obviously, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, the fact that TikTok is becoming more of a platform. It's less for girls doing dances, as the joke commonly thinks it is, and that's why people don't go to it. Basically, in my brain, I'm thinking, okay, why should people care about their portfolio when you're seeing the popularity of the kind of real world? And maybe that's not fair because photographs can be considered real world as well. But I mean, like, you see someone's face and like you said, you're the brand. So people engage with you on a personal level. Why should photographers, why should videographers care about their portfolio when there is kind of a trend of moving away from the perfect image and it's more about the people? Does that make sense? That's very rambly a question. I do apologize.
I think I'm interpreting this as I think I'm going to try and answer this. Okay. So the way I see it is, so with obviously Instagram, they obviously announced that it's no longer just a photo sharing platform. And I think this is the trend you're seeing now. You're seeing reels more than content. You're seeing reels more than photos, which is really frustrating for people because everyone's like, I'm a photographer. I'm not going to be pointing to text and dancing. Like that is just, and you know what? It isn't for everybody. And like, that's the absolute truth. You don't need to point and dance and do a routine. You don't need to get bookings. You really, really don't. And don't get me wrong, like reels are amazing. They're great. but there are lots of ways of showcasing your brand without actually showing your face.
Yes.
But your portfolio, however, that's permanent. And you can kind of show a reel with a bit of comedy or humor, or you can actually show glimmers of your portfolio. But ultimately, that will kind of entice your kind of client, but it will be your portfolio that actually gets you that booking ultimately. Because that is what you can do. That's your actual work. So the kind of perfecting your portfolio is, I talk through the process of how to actually create the portfolio of your dreams. Are you maybe in a position when you're like, oh, this year, like I haven't got that many weddings I'm excited about, or I haven't got the weddings that I want to be shooting, and this is a dilemma that all of us go through, let's be honest, as in with weddings, you shoot so many weddings, but how many of those weddings can you actually market that you are going to kind of share to death, that you're going to constantly be putting out there? Because being completely honest, like the further you go along with your business, you can't do that for every wedding. That's the absolute truth. Because, and some people say, yeah, but you could share an image from every single wedding. You should have an image you should be proud from every wedding. Yes, you should. However, sometimes it might be a case of, I don't want to go back to that venue again. I might be like, that venue, I'm not interested in returning. So I wouldn't share that. It might be as simple as that. But with kind of weddings, it's a really interesting market, because very often you're marketing for the future. Yeah. And this is what people kind of seem to forget, is that for some people, you're marketing for a wedding in 2 years' time, a wedding in a year's time. And that's a very different market compared to like fashion, when it's instant. That's marketing for now, that someone's going to buy that now. But with weddings, you're marketing for the future. So you have got to be strategic about your portfolio. So if you think, oh, I want more destination weddings, but you don't have that content, how are you going to kind of show to people what you can do? Maybe you think, oh, I want to do more weddings where there's more color, but you don't have that in your portfolio. How are you going to get that wedding? Because sometimes a hashtag isn't enough to say hashtag Italy wedding photographer, hashtag London elopement photographer, if you haven't got that in your portfolio. And it is a case of getting the actual content, because as you know, with the algorithm and with the internet, hashtags, yes, they can bring you potential clients, but not necessarily, with people, very often it's a case of you need to actually share what you can do for somebody to be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to book them. I'm going to invest in them. I think that's what you kind of mean by your question, in comparison to like video snippets of, say, a person. So is that what you mean?
Yes. Yes.
Is that what you mean?
I think that's what I meant.
If it wasn't, I'm really sorry. I just interpreted that as
that was absolutely perfect. So you mentioned it's my fault. I brain farted halfway through that question. I was like, no. You mentioned the algorithm, and you mentioned showing what you want to get. There's a balance, surely, between having to post enough regular content for the algorithm to be like, oh, this person's posting and is a reliable source, so I'm going to send out to further people, over really showing exactly what you want. Because yes, we take thousands of images, hundreds of thousands, hundreds of video clips, or however much content you create. But at the end of the day, there's only so much. So, man, I'm not very good at asking questions. Why am I hosting a podcast? Jesus Christ. Sorry. How do we manage the balance there between showing exactly what we want versus working and posting content for the algorithm? I got there.
What I say to people, yes, I know exactly what you mean. So the most common thing I would say to people is, I think people think I need to post every single day. I need to post something, anything, so the algorithm puts me in front of my clients, and people need to get out of that, because you don't need to post every single day. You really, really don't. Stories, yes. Like I would say, the stories algorithm is way more powerful because photos only reach what was it, 2%, 3% of your followers in the moment. So stories I would really push every single day, definitely. And I don't post every single day. I used to, and trust me, in the past I have tried posting every single day, being in a pod, doing all of that. And like you said, I would try anything. I did in the past. But you don't need to, and that's the absolute truth. And it is a case of quality over quantity. So be really, really intentional with what you're posting, and don't post for posting's sake. And I think that's really, really important, because I think everyone just panics and thinks, I just need to keep posting, I need to keep posting. And if anything, we learned during the pandemic, you don't need to, because what happened during that time is you don't know when your next content was coming, and you had to make that content last for months with no real weddings. And my account still grew by not posting every single day. And don't kind of panic and think you need to do what everybody else is doing and everybody else is no, they're not. Like, you really don't need to post every single day. It's not necessary. Just quality over quantity. And sometimes even when I had my baby, I didn't even post, I think maybe once a week, once a fortnight, because there was just no time. And it's not the end of the world. I think there's so much I think everybody panics and thinks, oh, like, the algorithm's out to get me, it hates me. Like, you can't beat it. Like, you're never going to beat it. Like, they're a lot smarter than us. But just there are things you can do to kind of help your account, and that is posting stories. Stories are really, really powerful. And look at the impressions on your stories, and you can already tell that you will get way more views on a story than likes on a post. So just keep doing that. And even if you're not down for showing your face every single, because you don't need to, people will watch anything and everything on stories. Trust me, like, people are nosy. Well, I love seeing what people are up to, and you feel like you know them, and you're like, oh, they're having dinner with their mates, having cocktails. People do. So share that side of you, and that is how you can build brand loyalty, that people kind of get to know you. So share what you're up to, and you can even share your work on stories. So if you've got shots you've never shared or post of, share that on stories, because the odds are more people are going to see it. So don't feel like you need to do it every single day. It's not necessary. It really, really isn't. And just remember the saying, just only share what you want to shoot. Yeah. Because that's what you're going to get back.
What would you say are some of the biggest issues that you see with other photographers' portfolios, or that they're coming to you with? And I assume these are going to be things that you'll maybe cover in your talk. So broad scope, sort of, what issues do you see?
I think inconsistency in edits. I think that's a really common thing. That people are using lots of different presets, that is just not consistent. That's a very common thing, because then what happens when your work is inconsistent is a client looking at that is going to be like, so what am I going to get? Is my wedding going to look like that? Or is it going to look like that? So you have to constantly put yourself in the shoes of your client. And I think that's a really, really common thing. I think so many people think, you've got to think to yourself, well, who am I posting this for? Is this for other photographers or videographers? Is this for your peers, or is this for clients? I think so many people get so caught up in likes and followers, and you've got to remember you only need to appeal to 20, 30 couples. So that is what you should be aiming for when you are posting. And I think everyone's like, oh, that picture bombed, oh my gosh, like doesn't matter. It's just Instagram. Just like, it doesn't matter. Like, even if that one picture you loved spoke to a couple and they were like, that's what we want for our wedding. Yeah. You've done your job. That's all you need to do. So that's a really common thing, is inconsistency. Posting and ghosting, that's a very common thing. People just post, write a caption, then just leave it, and they're like, okay, I posted, done. When, again, with social media, you have to be social. You've got to engage. You've got to... You can't be an island on social media. It's very much a two-way street. You've got to put out what you want to get back. And it is a full-time job. Like, you know, like, it's constantly like replying to DMs, reacting, watching stories, like putting up stories, replying to comments. Like, it's a lot of work. But just engaging, I'd say to people, just engage. And likes don't pay for your bills, engagement does. And if you connect and engage with the right people, they will convert to clients. And that's a very common thing for me. I've had people who follow me and be like, oh my gosh, I know that we'd have a laugh when I get engaged. You're shooting.
Yeah.
And that's happened, 6 times for me now. Like, followers, you're like, I think we'd have a laugh. And then as soon as they get engaged, they're like, babes, I'm engaged. When are you available? And they won't even ask how much you cost. They will work around you because they connect with you.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important to kind of show your personality with your account, because it is a saturated market. There are so many of us. Like, couples have the pick of like the bunch. They can pick anybody. So what I say to people is, what makes you different to that photographer? Is your editing the same? Great. But what are you bringing to the table? What's your value? So showing your personality, I think that's really important as a photographer or videographer. I think so many people choose a business name, which is their name. So they're like, oh, it's Sophie Wedding Photography, but then there's like just a logo and there's no Sophie, and you're like, who is Sophie? what like that's also very common in terms of like a thing. And I'm like, I'm venturing something. I'll be like, you're so fun, like I want to see more of this, like showcase this, because that is what's going to book you weddings. If it's if for some couples, if it's a factor of, oh, okay, these 2 photographers cost the same, the editing's the same, what will be the swaying factor? If it's about personality and a fit personality wise, then show you that, and don't be afraid to show that. I think that's really important. So I would say those are the most common things with Instagram at the moment. Yeah, I'd say that. Also, and Reels, people just being like, I hate Reels, it's not me, like I'm not doing it. You don't have to do it. You don't have to. Like it's just at the moment it's something that Instagram are really pushing algorithm wise, and it's a really good marketing tool. It's free. It's free to do, and you don't need to point and dance. You don't need to. You can just share.
You can do
a quick little video snippet.
There's nothing wrong with it. If you're a pointer and a dancer,
there's nothing wrong with it. But it's exactly. There's nothing wrong with it, and there's different strokes for different folks. And yeah, I have done the pointy text thing. Like I've done that, and people will be like, "Oh, cringe." But don't do that. Do what's true to your business and what's true to you, and whatever you think that other clients are going to connect with, or your type of people, your tribe. So do what's right for you. Is what
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we still need to find our real voice. Because me personally, I'm not much of a dancer, pointer. I'm not much of a.
We've only really used Reels so far to share finished edits, like
which is boring.
A snippet of a wedding film, which we feel would suit a reel. We've shared there, but we've not done any face to camera reels.
Yeah. I literally just said our work's boring. That's terrible. I don't mean that.
No, but you're videographers. Like, you are in such a powerful position. Like, you can make a reel like that. You've got so much video content that you can just do a quick first look. Oh, look at this person. Yeah, there's so much potential. Like, you've got like dozens of potential on your hard drive that you can just listen to some trending tracks. Boom, clip, boom.
That's right.
Like, you got to remember, it only takes 3 seconds for it to count as a view. Sorted, you'll be okay. And it doesn't matter, just like have fun. Like,
very cool.
I'm sure it's a beautiful reel.
Yes, another little reminder to buy your Thrive tickets and learn more about what Rebecca is talking about right here. And if you want to learn who the hell Sophie is, buy your tickets and we'll maybe tell you who Sophie is. But let's move on, because like I said, you're talking about this topic. We don't want to give too much away. I really enjoyed your takeover though of the farm page.
Thanks.
I'm pretty sure I was on the train down to London, so I was actually sitting alone. The kids and my wife had a table. I was sitting working on my podcast notes, and I was enjoying your takeover. So thank you for the entertainment.
Thanks for watching. That's really nice.
I really enjoyed them, and I thought you gave such good information for the questions that you were asked, because you did a Ask Me Anything series. And I promise I'm not being a lazy host, but I'm going to re-ask you some of the questions that that you were given, because it's gone. The shelf life is it was only up for 24 hours and it's gone. It's disappeared.
That's
So
it, then it's gone.
So let's give some longevity to some of these answers that you were given. Questions 2.
Cool.
Greg, would you like to ask the first one?
So, someone asked for your best timing advice for bridal preps. I think. Is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So timing is absolutely key for this part of the day. Like I think I love bridal prep. I think this sets off the tone for the entire day, that there is massive potential in this time for bonding with the wedding party, for relaxing them, for kind of really just starting the gallery off and telling the story. But in order to do that, you need time. And I think this is so important. But with time, that comes with preparing your couples. So with my couples, I am very honest and I will ask them questions purely from learning from past mistakes. So I'll say, okay, how many people are in your bridal party? How many bridesmaids? And then telling them, okay, well, it takes about 40 minutes per bridesmaid for that. And being really honest with the timings, and then being really, really firm and telling the bride or groom, okay, if your ceremony is at 2, you need to be in your dress at this time. Mm-hmm. And just being really kind of giving them the actual times. Because I think before I would just be like, just freestyle. I'm just capturing it as it all unfolds, which is what your job is to do. However, if they want shots of them in the robes having Prosecco, if they want a first look with their dad, if they want that banging portrait, you need time to do that. Yeah. So I tell people, really don't underestimate the timings at this time of day. And I say it makes for a better experience. So I say, okay, so if your ceremony is at this time, you're going to need to do the registrar at this time. So I say you need to be in your dress at this time, and stress to them and say, okay, tell your hair and makeup artist you don't want to go last, because they're like, I think loads of people think, I want my makeup fresh. Your makeup's going to stay on all day, so just get ready than you think. Yeah. And I think it's so important. Like I say to people, just get ready sooner than you think. Don't go last. Go in the middle, so you are ready, so you can enjoy that time. If you want to read those letters from your partner, if you want to give a gift to your parents, if you want to have a first look, if you want to give gifts to your party. Mm-hmm. Have music playing. So I do give lots of advice to my couples on this with timings, and just tell them to get ready sooner than you think.
Yeah. And really if you're working with a filmmaker, and maybe you haven't talked about this during the day, but the filmmaker will also very much appreciate those earlier times, because like we have to be at the church to set up. So it's not like, I mean, we do trying to aim for getting portraits and stuff, but if you're working alongside a videographer, you have the bonus aspect of helping them as well. Yeah,
there's a wee bit more setup time for ceremony for a filmmaker.
Yeah.
But what you said about like you can stand back and document it as it happens, that'll be fine, but you're just watching the time disappear, and it's like you're going to be late, and it's just causing problems for yourself, as you say, because they're not going to have time to do that first look now. Oh no. When you can control that, and
it's chaotic. And it's when stuff does run late. As a videographer and photographer, it's so stressful because you're playing catch up, aren't you? And everyone looks at you like, this is why they're late, and you're like, it's not me, like I'm just here, like, and everyone looks at you like it's your fault. And I just tell them, like, this part of the day is sacred, like you and it is, because it's the anticipation, it's the excitement. So I say to people, like, you want to enjoy this because this will set the tone for the rest of the day. So enjoy this time, and we can't capture like those moments without time. So but again, they wouldn't know that because they've never been married before. So your job with your client is to educate them and give them advice on that.
Perfect advice. And wear a watch. Wear a watch. And,
yes. Oh my gosh. So, wear a watch.
This is crucial. I don't always wear a watch. I'm not wearing a watch now, but for weddings, I always wear a watch, and I wear a watch for a very particular reason. Because if you're if you're reaching into your pocket and going on your phone, it doesn't look like you're checking the time. It looks like you're just bored. So please wear a watch and don't check your phone. If you're interested,
I know some photographers.
Oh, sorry. On you go.
Oh, sorry.
I know, it's fine.
So sorry. Some photographers I know actually changed the Apple Watch face to be the timeline of the day. Like that is also a thing. So they have the timeline of like ceremony to, champagne at this time, confetti. That's also, I know something that lots of photographers do and videographers.
Yes. Yes, very handy. I do that with. I mean, I say don't look at your phone, but I actually do. You just have to be careful when you bring it out. But yes, I have the screensaver as the times usually. Yeah. If you're interested in learning more about how to shoot morning preps, Sean Bell, who we'll be recording with later today, who's also a Thrive mentor, we'll be talking about that more in detail. So book your tickets. I can't say that enough. Book your tickets.
Book your tickets. Do it.
Someone else asked on the Q&A, do you think many photographers underestimate the power of a group shot?
Oh, yes, they do. And I think with wedding photographers, group shots are usually like the bane of our life. Because we've all had horror stories with group shots, let's be honest, because in the beginning, I would just freestyle them and be like, okay, yeah, mum and dad. But the power and the importance of group shots, as in, I've often had couples say to me, oh, we don't really want group shots. Like, we don't really care. And I say, okay, that's cool. But you've got to remember, like, these photographs might not have much importance now, but these will sometimes be the most important shots in the future. Because you're not going to get those people in a room together, very often. Yeah. And the amount of people I've had message me say, oh, can you please, our wedding was this many years ago, this person's passed away, can you please bring up that same image, can you change it for us and crop in just them, because that's the only picture we have of them. As in, group shots are really, really, really sacred and really important. And I tell couples, like, look, I limit how many I have now, because I used to just be like, oh, yeah, you can do as many as you like, and then it's just chaos. So now I say it's this many, but pick people who are like your ride or dies. These are the ones you want framed or printed, or the ones that they want printed. So have a list of the actual people and then just do it, and just take the time to compose it properly and give them options. Because those shots are often the ones that are printed by the parents, by the family. And then with bridal party shots, those are like money makers. Those, again, massive clickbait. And that's the absolute truth, because with weddings, I always say, like, your bridal party are truly like your wedding cheerleaders. Because they're the first people to post on Instagram. They're the first people to do stories. They follow the photographer. They're invested because they've done the hen party. They're like, they've got the dress. They're in the bridesmaid dress. They are like living their best lives. So if you nail a killer bridesmaid or groom party shot, that's instant referrals every single time. So I always say to them, oh, what's your Instagram handles? I airdrop them like boomerangs of taking them in the morning, because they love it. And it is, I know what it's like to be a bridesmaid. It's so much fun. And being part of the wedding party is like an honor, isn't it? So, they are like the people who take care of you at weddings. So with bridesmaid shots, I'm kind of known for bridesmaid shots. So I tend to say for couples, okay, I need this much time for these types of shots. So I've done all the family shots, typically keep them quite formal, because they're going to be printed and framed, and mum and dad aren't down for like the arty stuff most of the time. They're like, we want to look at the camera. Yeah. Cool. So do those, because as much as we're like forehead to forehead, like parents are like, why are you not looking at the camera? I can't see you. Like, they don't appreciate that so much. And I've learned that. But with bridesmaids and grooms and shots, that's when you can have fun. So I get people walking. Might do another session in the evening at sunset with like champagne and glasses, because I think also with group shots, you get a completely different dynamic out of your couple, because that's like who they really are. Because I think that's when their kind of fun side comes out, and you see a completely different side of them. So I love the atmosphere that comes out of group shots, and posting those again does very well. Like, that's the absolute truth.
I remember
group shots are.
I remember important. A bridesmaid. It wasn't a group shot, but it was a shot with all the bridesmaids in it. They just got out of the car, standing all casual, and I think we posted that on Instagram like constantly a few times, because every time you post it, the engagement just shoot through the roof. They tagged all their bridesmaids. They commented. They shared it.
And they weren't
like, wow.
Yeah, they weren't even doing anything. So the couple had gotten to their very nice old vintage car and were driving away. And this is the bridesmaids. They're not even looking at us. They're just like totally like looking cool and very casual. One of them was waving a bouquet like to say goodbye. Like, it was just a cool vibe. So yeah. So again, when I was on the train looking at some of the ways that you pose group shots, is that the right? I know you pose a couple, but like arrange. Like you did have your looking at the camera
range,
so you did have your looking at the camera type shots, but you also got a lot of them to move and walk towards you, and I loved that. And I don't see that too often, actually, with group shots. Usually, like you said, they are the bane of photographers' lives. So they just want to get them over and done with. And that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Maybe we will wind you up if you're working with us, that you have to do the group shots and we don't. Ha ha ha. That's the power of video. But
but then the group shots for us are like speeches for you. They're like,
yes, very much so. So help people out with their arrangements, because you have done a lot and they look really cool. So give some advice.
So what I do, I get all the formalities done first, just so you like, right, tick box, done the one when they're all looking to camera. So I go, okay, cool, now let's have some fun. And they're like, yes, this is what we've come here for. Like, this is what we want. So they've done the shot, they're all looking to camera, the typical lineup before the party, just so you have it. And then I immediately say, okay, what I'm going to get you guys to do is you're going to link arms and you're going to walk towards me, but you're not going to look at me. And they can get them to walk, because what happens then, and this is the rule with photography, like motion creates emotion every single time. And then that's when you get the laughter, the giggles. And also I work with videographers a lot. And for you, videographers, static shots aren't really, you need movement. Don't you? You need a lot of movement to make up a film. So I've always been hyper aware of that with videographers, to keep, couples moving, because that's when they get content and the footage they need. And also you get, it's a completely different vibe photography wise. And I love movement. And so get them moving, walking towards camera, and then I will get them to look at each other, get them to hold the bouquet in the right place. I might bring out some chairs. Screw it. If I'm like, let's go for Vanity Fair vibes. Like, very often the bridal groom has told me, have been like, they said, oh, we want this shot. We want to, I'm like, okay, cool. Because sometimes we have requests. So we might get some furniture out. And I just try and give them a real variety, really, like a real mixture. So it's not all just like look into camera. And also I always make a point, and this is my top tip for weddings, is photograph the bride and groom individually with every single member of the wedding party. Because what happens every single year is they'll be like, happy birthday, Megan. They will use that picture every single year. And it's a killer picture because it's a professional picture. And again, you've got to think about them and what they really want. And I know as a bride that I value those pictures of me and my girlfriends, me and my sisters, because I end up showing those pictures every year. And again, those people potentially are like, oh, that's a really lovely picture. And I have so many bridesmaids and grooms which are referrals from that wedding for that reason. So I take the time to do that. I literally say, okay, line up really quickly. We should do a quick fire shot of each of you with the bride or groom. And they're always really grateful. And it's about going that extra mile, definitely. So movement, individual shots, static, looking at each other, having a little giggle, and just keeping it lighthearted and fun, and just really mixing it up and taking the time to do it, and making it fun as well.
I like that.
Tell us, let's talk a bit more about reels and how you actually create them. Like how much
/ TikToks.
Yeah, well,
because they're similar, right?
So how do you actually create your reels, and how much sort of time and effort you put into them?
So it varies. I'll be completely honest. And some people are really like organized, and the trick is to batch film them and then just drip feed them. slowly. That's the right way you should do it if you're like really organized. But for me, it might be a case of, I've got makeup on today. Should film a reel, really. I said, right now I'm wearing makeup. I should probably do a reel later on, but I might not. That's the absolute truth. So the trick with reels, so reels are different to TikTok.
Okay.
Some of the sounds are the same, but TikTok is very different. When I find the humor on TikTok is a lot more jokey and jovial. You can go really extreme with TikTok because it did start with TikTok. When reels, obviously, if it's a business account, very often the themes are education, relatability, or humor. Like that's the kind of the main themes. So the trick of reels is to actually sit and watch reels. I think that's the most common thing. I think very often people go, that's so cringe. Like if you sit and watch reels, there are some very, very educational, really useful reels that you can learn a lot from other kind of artists, other creators, people within your niche. So sit and actually watch reels and think, okay, how can I make that apply to my audience, is what I say to people. So sit and watch reels, and then what you'll see is a lot of the same audio. You'll be like, I've heard this and that. And that basically tells you it's a trending song. So trending songs are probably the best way to fast track that kind of video, so more people will be more likely to see it. So save audios is what I'd say. And then there are lots of ways to make a reel. You can either do it within the app, or you can do it outside the app using an app like InShot, or if you're a videographer, you might do it in Final Cut Pro. Completely up to you. Pick a song, think about what you want to kind of get across. Ideally, you want to have your viewer hooked within 3 seconds. You want to create a hook, whether that's capturing the beginning of the video. For instance, I made a reel lifetime on Photography Farm about the time I shot in JPEG, and that's we've all been there. Yeah, and it's like, you feel visibly sick. And but then what I did is I made that really clear within immediately in the videos. I think what people do, the mistakes of reels, people are just doing slideshows and that's you can do that, but you'll find if you incorporate video, because that's the purpose of reels, it will perform better. So having mixed media is definitely the way forward. If it's pure video, great. If you're going to mix photos and videos, cool, but don't just do pure photos. If you do, make it short and snappy is what I'd say. So if you're going to do a raw to the finished result, make it quick and snappy and kind of correlate it to the music so it's on the beat if it's changing. So you can either pick an audio and you can pick all your kind of media, and then you can let Instagram do it automatically. That's one way. Or you can do it outside the app in InShot. So there's that. You can even extract audio from TikTok that the sound isn't on YouTube. You can do that via InShot. But what I tell people is keep it short and sweet, make it relatable, think about your audience, whether your audience is couples, if it's other photographers and videographers. And the trick is with reels is ideally you want it to be a case of other people share it and save it, because that's how it goes even further. And that's the kind of trick with reels. You can change the cover photo so it matches the rest of your grid. Captions are really, really important. Don't underestimate the importance of captions, because very often people will watch reels without sound. Right. And if they get the kind of the general what it's all about via the caption, they'll be like, oh, okay, cool. And then they sit and watch it. And that's something to cannot be underestimated, is using captions. Hashtags are completely different for reels. So yeah, completely different. It's just a whole masterclass in itself, really. But yeah, so keep going.
I don't know any of this.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So trending audio is like a little white arrow that tells you it's trending. So save a bunch of audio. And actually, with reels, you've probably got loads of potential in your camera roll, already. I think loads of people are I have to sit and film loads. You can actually just go into your camera roll and you might have footage of you at a wedding. You might have behind the scenes and just repurpose that. And I'll be honest, the best performing reels on my account are ones I've literally made in 5 minutes. I just be like, put this together, boom. Yeah. And that's the truth. But I say to people, don't go in with the intention, this is going to go viral. I want it to go viral. Like you can't, sometimes you can predict what it can, sometimes you can't, and it can be for the craziest reasons. So just don't overthink it, is what I'd say, and don't delete it, because very often people go, oh my gosh, it's absolutely bombed. But then what has happened is that audio suddenly might trend later on, or that hashtag might come around again, and then that reel can come back round again. So the longevity with a reel is a lot longer. So you know how you post a photo or a video on your grid, and then it makes or breaks within the first couple of hours if it does well. With reels, they just keep going round and round and round, because there's not as many reels as there are photos, like in terms of like, and the people creating reels are creators, like the majority. So you'll find if you watch reels, you'll be like, I've seen this reel before. So that's what happens. Very often they kind of get put in front again. So it is really, really powerful marketing, and it's free. And you can just, you don't need to show your face. So I've shown clips without even showing my face, and they've done really well. So there's a real style for everybody. But what I would say is another mistake people make is making a reel or a video in TikTok and then just posting it in Instagram. But then the watermarks from TikTok. So that's like a no-no. So don't do that.
So, sorry, would you...
But there's a lot to it.
If you
so
had,
much.
If you had a viral video, would you repost that content maybe 5 months later?
Yeah, lots of creators do this, actually. That's quite a common thing, as in there was a trend saying, post your most viral video. Like TikTok did it for the recap of the year. And then the video goes viral again, because it's usually for a particular reason. So I'm probably going to do that one of my old reels. So the best reel that's ever performed for me, the audio has now gone, which just kills me. So the audio for that track, the creators deleted it. So now it's a video with no audio, which then tells me, I can repurpose it again with a new audio. So you definitely can, and just mix it up. So
and
why the heck not? If that performed well for you,
would you delete the old viral video? You would just keep it? Okay.
Just said don't delete.
I know, but if you're going to repost it. No, you're right.
You can repurpose. Obviously, don't do it. Like if it's a couple of months, then why the heck not? Just change the cover picture so it just looks different.
Oh, nice and good advice.
Not everybody. And remember, never assume that all your followers have seen that, because there'll be times when you'll be like, I've not seen this picture before. Like that's it's very common with content just gets missed because it's not in chronological order. Even though it's going to be that soon, it's going to change. There'll be pictures from just according to what the algorithm thinks you want to see. So never delete a reel. And remember, if it bombs, doesn't matter. It's just Instagram, guys. Don't worry about it. That's what I say.
Before you move on, Greg, I do have a little bit of advice, mainly for filmmakers. If you're a filmmaker, you'll know. I'm assuming anyway, unless you're breaking the law, which is a decision you can make on your by yourself. For us, we use licensed music, so we use MusicBed, a couple of other sites. If you have the music license and you then go into TikTok, it could still flag up as you don't own this, and you can't fight it. So which is very annoying. So if you want,
a nightmare trying to license music. Yeah.
So if you want to do a video with recorded audio, like someone speaking, just export that without any music, and then you can pick a song in TikTok or Reels later, and then it won't get flagged that way. Because I've had that a couple of times, having already created the content in batch, and then realize, oh shit, I now need to change this because the recorded speech isn't. You can't. It just gets rid of all the audio. So that's very annoying. Tip.
So frustrating, isn't it? And you're like, I paid for this on MusicBed. Here's my sync ID, but then
I know
Instagram, TikTok, no.
Yeah, and you can't.
The amount of times we're like, it's so there's a massive flaw with that. So I feel your pain.
Yeah.
So who else in the industry do you know that's creating and using Reels in an interesting way? Like, who would you recommend going and checking out?
I've got a good one.
I love. It depends what you're in the mood for. I'm loving Emma Ryan's. She's another photographer. Emma Ryan creates some really funny TikToks. Jasmine Andrews, she's doing really well with reels. Who else is creating really? I also follow a lot of influencers, like fashion influencers.
Okay.
Marta, what's her name? Marta, she is like the queen of reels. Let me get the handle for you. Marta. I've got my phone on airplane mode, so it didn't go. Sorry, it's just loading. Here you go. Marta_Sierra. So she is the queen of reels. Like, she went viral. She is a massive influencer because of reels.
All right.
So I don't know if you guys saw that trend. You know when like girls are dancing in Paris and they kick their leg and then it's dark, it's nighttime? That was a massive trend. Like,
okay.
Yeah. So that was when we started that trend. So she is like the queen of quick transitions, outfit changes. So she's one to follow for just inspiration of just feel good reels. I love following her. She's a really, really good one to follow. Other photographers, I follow a lot of American photographers' reels. The Hart University, I really enjoy the reels they do. You just go completely blank. But I follow a lot of American photographers.
Yeah.
But Hart University, Evie Rupp, Lindsay Roman, Jasmine Starr has some very good tips and tricks for reels. But there's some really, really good ones. But for photographers, I think more photographers are kind of jumping on it now.
Yeah. I don't see many videographers or filmmakers using it as well.
No.
Funnily enough.
Not tons.
I don't know why that is. Maybe they just think video's the powerhouse of content, so maybe they don't need to show their face. But that's boring.
But I also think I do also see from some videographers' point of view that for you guys, like, you're shooting proper video, cinematic quality with proper frame rates in whatever kind of videography world you do, and then somebody pulls out an iPhone and then suddenly, they're a videographer, and that video is like goes viral without very little skill, which probably is very frustrating for lots of the industry. And I totally see that
I get that.
Suddenly anybody, and so I totally see that point of view.
I guess maybe some filmmakers don't use reels as much because it's like, well, if I film something on my phone and post a quick edit, it won't look as good as my finished work, and they're worried that
because it's portrait as well. Because it's portrait, you're chopping off half your frame as well. So and
that is very true, by the way. You're given like a third of the image that you want to portray. In fact, I spend a lot of my time just readjusting for that, because we shoot 16:9. And having to move things so it's actually in the show. Anyway,
what are your opinions on reels then? What do you think about them, and like how it's all going in the market? What are your thoughts?
I think it's super interesting. I do enjoy watching a whole load of TikTok stuff and reels. It can be a bit of a black hole sometimes for me if I'm just like, I want to go down and look at cute animal videos doing silly things. I don't do that very often. It's mainly with my kids, actually. They're like, can you put on the funny dog videos? Okay. But I really do appreciate people spending the time and doing stuff on camera. Yes, for me, the pointing stuff isn't really for me, but there's other content that is talking to the camera that I do find quite engaging, and it doesn't have the cringe factor, and I can see the effort that people put into it, and I really do appreciate that. Because they're not just as easy as people think they are. It's not just that, hey, I'm just recording myself. It's not that. Yes, there are behind the scenes shots of photographers working, and that's super interesting. Especially if it's more like composition photography. I always like to see how they create the final photoshopped composite image out of all these things that you're seeing. Who's that photographer? That Alexandria's Lens. Is that right? Anyway, they do like Harry Potter magical stuff with their kids, and it's always quite cool to see the behind the scenes stuff like that. But yes, I really enjoy, and I'm trying to get her on the podcast. I've been trying for quite a while. Camera Hannah. She does these kind of like skits, and I really enjoy that kind of content.
Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. Camera Hannah's like killing it with the reels.
Yes,
like,
she is.
When she did like the name randomizer, she's doing. She's nailing it.
Yes, and
that's the thing. Those are like comedy, fun, relatable reels.
Exactly.
Which, that's a really good example.
Yes. We always like to ask this question for not just newcomers, but for us who maybe have been in the industry for a while. Maybe there's a book that we've missed. Do you have any book recommendations?
Oh my gosh, I'll be completely honest. I have not read a business book since I've had a baby.
That's fine.
The absolute truth. I'm mostly like a podcast listener, the absolute truth. But books that changed my life, as in, I love The Secret. I know that's a cliche. I love The Secret. I think that's a really positive bit. And also Danny Wallace's Yes Man. I think that is such a fun book about when he actually said yes to everything as an experiment. And honestly, it's an amazing story. And I love that because I think it is important, like, to be open to opportunities. I think that those sort of books I love, but The Secret I loved. I think manifestation and positive thinking, I think that's a massive value of mine. I think that's what's been definitely key to my success, is being extremely positive. And kind of visualizing things. You said you haven't read any business books. Have you read any other fiction, non-fiction? No, that's since pregnancy. That's fine. That's appalling. That's fine. But that's the absolute truth.
No, that's fine. Just so I mentioned on the podcast a couple of times that my wife is obsessed with reading. She reads all the time. She's just finished a Crescent City book, the newest one that's come out, and I mean, my wife reads. I think I said I lowballed the number. One time I said she's read 9 books in a month. That is what I said. She's actually read 20 books. She's read 20 books in a month, and it's insane. I thought 9 was a lot.
That's amazing.
But she's trying to look for people who have read the new Crescent City book. So I thought I would try and find some for her, because whatever happens is blowing her mind. So if you or any of the listeners out there know anyone who's read the Crescent City series, it's adding this to my notes. I've totally forgotten the author. I need to get off my phone and stop watching so many TikToks, because that's where all my time just gets eaten up into. And that's the absolute truth. Like, my phone screen shames me with the amount of time, every week, and I'm like, but it's work. Mm-hmm. I know. Yeah, Netflix does that to me too. I need to feed my mind. I know. What are you watching on Netflix before you get to what are you watching? I've gone back and watched Suits again. That's what I started doing recently. I freaking love Suits. It was one of my favorite TV shows. Mate, I love. Plus, it's so weird to watch and go, oh, she's a princess now. Oh, right. Crazy. Meghan Markle is who I'm talking about. I love Suits. It's so good. Yeah. So I'm going through that at the moment. Having the baby, I've just not been able to focus on proper good quality TV. No. So I just put on Do you see what I mean? You see what I mean? 6-month-old. That's what, read a book. I'm like, can't read, can't watch anything and focus on it. No. So we've had friends on in the background. Yeah. Yeah. We've had Big Bang Theory on in the background. That's so funny. That's exactly what we did. We rewatched Friends when we had our baby. Yeah. Recently, I've tried to start watching the Formula One Netflix thing, Drive to Survive, and I've got no interest in Formula One, really. But it's actually quite interesting, like the drama that goes around that industry. Didn't know it. Like, I'm watching 3 seasons ago, so the winners happened and everything, but I don't know who won it, so it's still interesting to me. Oh, awesome. we always like to ask this question. For newcomers in the industry, do you have one piece of advice that you'd give them for success in the wedding industry?
For success, okay.
Well, advice for failure would be a terrible idea. Please.
Sorry, I didn't mean that. Gosh, I'm sorry. I'm losing my mind. Sorry.
It's fine.
Definitely success.
Slowly on this podcast, we've just slowly dissolved into absolute catastrophe.
Okay, so my one tip for success would be to keep creating, keep shooting, and I would say that keep creating and keep shooting, because that is what's going to teach you to learn, to work with light. It's going to teach you what you love, and it's going to build your confidence with directing couples. So just keep shooting, and that would definitely, I would say that in short, to keep creating, to never stop creating. That's what I'd say. And then / reach out to others in the industry. That would be my second one, and to make friends.
Sneaky, squeezing in a second one there.
I know, but that's so important.
No,
because I know you didn't, but like I learned that so much, as in you can't be an island in this industry. And I think everybody thinks like, oh yeah, but they are competition. Like, but for your sake, like for your sanity and for your peace of mind, nobody's going to understand what you're going through apart from other people in your industry. And that's so important. And you guys are a duo, so having friends with the industry will help you so much, and you'll learn so much from others. Maybe I should have chosen that one.
No, we'll let you off. You
That's perfect. It's perfect.
Those are great pieces of advice.
Great.
You need your friends. You need your friends.
Yeah,
definitely.
great way to wrap up the podcast there. Thank you for coming online with us several times.
Thank you.
Where can people find you online?
Thanks so much for having me. First and foremost, I've really enjoyed our chat. Actually, it's been a laugh. I know, like all the interruptions, but it's been fun.
It has been fun.
So you can find me on Instagram and YouTube. I'm Rebecca Carpenter Photography. So I've got videos on my YouTube of tips and tricks for posing and directing, behind the scenes, editing. And Instagram's where you can find my work, and those are the best places to find me. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not very good with words, as we have discovered on this podcast. So I'm not on Twitter. That's where you can find me.
Yeah. And do you have lots? Where can people find them and buy them? Presets. Sorry.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh, that's you can buy presets on RebeccaCarpenterEducation.com. That is my kind of shop for education things. So different courses. I've got my presets. I've also got a free preset. So if you just want a cheeky one just to play around for free, I also do that.
Cool.
Secret tip, if you download that, you get a discount for the main ones. That's a little insider tip. Not many people know that.
Rebecca, I already asked you for one. You can't have another free tip.
Oh no, sorry.
I'm kidding.
Such an oversharer. But yeah, I've got a shop.
Yes.
And buy your tickets for Thrive. And I'm not just saying this, but Photography Farm really did change my life. And I know people say that, but it genuinely did. Mm-hmm. And attending and learning from others will help you grow, and kind of it really will broaden your horizons, and you'll learn so much from other people. And anything that you're kind of struggling with, somebody else has gone through that and they can tell you that. And each of the speakers are incredible, and you will learn so much from them. And especially in their shoot sessions as well, you can kind of see how they might compose a shoot and how they might direct it. And when I went to that with other photographers, that was massive. And kind of seeing how they view things and how you can apply that to your business. And then the different talks, I'm really excited. I'm buzzing for the talks from these speakers. They're going to be amazing. And it's the best money you'll spend. It's an investment in yourself, your business, your future, most importantly, because I guarantee you're going to walk away and be like, oh my gosh, did not know that. I'd never thought of it like that. Yeah. And that's how I felt when I first went, and it was a game changer. Yeah. It really did change everything for me. Massively.
I know we're filmmakers, but it's a really good approach to have to be going to photography workshops as well. being able to see from their point of view is invaluable. And it is one of the reasons why we go to Photography Farm. So I would also recommend, if you're a filmmaker, also going to Photography Farm. Sorry. Maybe one day we'll work with Lisa and call it something like Film Farm, and it'll be a video aspect to it. Who knows? Oh no, she's not going to like that idea. Anyway, people can find us at cinematefilms.co.uk on Instagram and Facebook at /cinematefilms. The 21st, 22nd is Brighton. The 24th and 25th of March is Glasgow. Did I miss March? Saying March the first time? It's March. It's a March. 6 incredible speakers, shoot sessions so that you can see how your heroes work in action. Lunch and snacks provided, held in a super cool boutique hotel. 2 of them, both Brighton and Glasgow. Super cool places. You get a killer goodie bag as well, and the chance to hang out and network with industry peers for 2 whole days. I mean, come on. Yeah. Come on. We hope you liked this episode, and if you did, you can join us at patreon.com/perspective by Cinemate. For as little as £1, you can support the podcast, and that's where you get access to all of our Q&As and bonus content that we put out. So if you liked what you listened to, you can get more of it there. If you have no money to give, that's absolutely fine. You can get this podcast wherever you get podcasts for free. And we consider you our best friends, our listeners. Thank you very much for supporting with your listens. We'd love if you would leave a review. A good review, though. If you have a bad review, don't bother. Like my mother always said, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. I've now turned into your mother. However,
in the meantime,
don't just survive, thrive.